You're listening to the Road to the Garden podcast, presented by House Enterprise and in partnership with House of College Hoops. Head over to our site, house-enterprise.com, for more info. We've teamed up with SeatGeek this season to get you the best deals for tickets to your favorite team. SeatGeek takes the confusion out of buying tickets, and they're here to give you some great deals. Get in on the fun and head over to SeatGeek, download their app, and use code NCAA Hoops Digest for $20 off your first purchase.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Road to the Garden podcast. It's Matt St. Jean here with Tommy Godin once again. It's been a while, Tommy. How you doing over there?
I am good, Matt. It's nice to see you. I mean, it's the off season. I see you get some color on you, going outside, touching grass for the first time since March. It's really a treat.
I know you've been using this extra free time wisely, watching Suits over there.
Yeah. Been getting big into Suits. Rewatching it for like the third time. My TikTok brought me back. The algorithm, it always does. I go down that rabbit hole, and yeah, it's currently playing on my TV as we speak, right down the hall. So yeah, binge watching that for sure.
Yeah, that's a fantastic show. I've been on my Succession binge over here. I just started trying to catch up before the series finale this weekend. Thankfully, I haven't had anything spoiled so far. So if anybody spoils anything in the chat, I'm blocking you. Just don't even, Tommy, you can monitor that. I'm not even going to look.
It's just Jerome.
It's just Jerome. All right. Hey, Jerome.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got some Big East news this week. We're going to start talking a little bit about what's coming up for next year. We got the draft coming up next month, so we're going to be talking about a little bit of everything here. But I think we'll start with the Gavitt Games. We got some Gavitt Games this week.
Yeah, the Gavitt Games just announced. It was nice to see that John Rothstein tweet. Nice to see that he's awake. I know he does not sleep until May, so he's up early, which is nice. Yeah.
Out of hibernation.
He sure is. This kid, Matt St. Jean, wrote an article on House Enterprise. Go check that out if you haven't, 2 days ago. It's about a 4-minute read, and he ranked the 2023 Gavitt Games. Do you know anything about that? Or?
Yeah, no, I put together this article, had a fun little time doing this, trying to figure out all these Big Ten teams and what's going on with them too, because we spend so much time in our Big East bubble during the season that I feel like I don't know anything about other conferences. So I'm kind of taking a crash course right now, trying to figure out what else is going on. But yeah, let's get into this. I'll pull up the games here. We'll read off the list in order. Monday, November 13th is the second week of the regular season. We get Xavier at Purdue and Michigan at St. John's. That second game, Michigan-St. John's, will be at Madison Square Garden. Then Tuesday night, we got a triple header. Wisconsin at Providence, Marquette at Illinois, Iowa at Creighton. Wednesday night, we got just one game, Georgetown at Rutgers. Skip Thursday, go right into Friday, Maryland at Villanova, and Butler at Michigan State. I don't know. I saw a lot of people on Twitter talking about how this slate of games wasn't very good. I didn't agree. I like this slate. Do you like this group of games?
I like 7 of them. Yeah, absolutely. And let's start off with the one that I don't, and that's Butler at Michigan State. Now, you are absolutely right. You hit the nail right on the head when you say we spend so much time inside our little Big East bubble. We don't venture out into the other great unknown of the college basketball world. But fortunately for me, watching all the Villanova games last year, I was able to catch up with the Michigan State Spartans. Tom Izzo still at the helm, never easy. It's a rematch of that Final Four back in 2010. And a lot of guys from that team that Villanova faced last year for Michigan State are going to be coming back. The likes of Tyson Walker, AJ Hoggard, Malik Hall will all be back. Now, I think Butler has a fighting shot. Was nice. We were talking about it in the open or before we went live. I was reading your article, and that was the first time that Posh Alexander has came into my mind this whole offseason, completely out of my mind that he transferred in conference to the Butler Bulldogs. So yeah, they have a fighting shot, but that's by far my least. I'm least excited to watch out of this slate.
Yeah, and I ranked the games from least interesting to most interesting, and this is for sure last. I feel like Butler drew the short straw here in a big way. Michigan State's a team that in ESPN's way too early top 25, Michigan State's number 4 in the country. And I mean, even if Butler does not have super high expectations for next year, we're going to talk about how we view these teams at the end of this. We're going to rank our the Big East teams kind of as a preliminary, way too early thing at the end of this. Butler's a team that's not expected to make the dance, probably going to be on the outside looking in, but there's more talent there. They added Pierre Brooks, a transfer from Michigan State, and this is a team that maybe could be good, could sneak into the tournament if things break the right way. But even with that, going on the road against a team like Michigan State, you gotta be really something. Unless Michigan State is just like they pull what UNC did last year and they're highly regarded and it doesn't work out. Unless that's what we get from the Spartans, this is going to be a really tough game for Butler. And despite the storylines, Pierre Brooks rematch and Final Four rematch and all that stuff, storylines in this are great. The actual basketball on the floor is probably not going to be that competitive. It's probably going to be the least competitive of the 8 games here.
Yeah, Thadmont is being thrown right into the fire. And we were talking about the way too early rankings. Jeff Borzello, you mentioned this in your article, but Jeff Borzello has him as a way too early top 5 team in the country on ESPN. So this isn't one of the best teams in the Big Ten. This is one of the best teams in the country that Thadmont is going to go and face on the road. That's going to be a tough one. Let's wish him luck because it looks like he's going to need it.
Yeah. And obviously, if Butler pulls an upset here, that's going to be a stunner. Hopefully they can manage a way to pull that off. I think it would be a great story for the conference. And obviously you always get crazy stuff, but that's a tough draw. Not good there for Butler. I want to move up. We'll go through these. We'll go through them in the order I have them in my article because I want to hear your thoughts on if you agree with how interesting these are. Because I had already gotten pushback on Twitter about this next one. I've got at a number 7 in this, Georgetown at Rutgers. Now, this is a standalone game in this. This gets Wednesday night all to itself, which I thought was very interesting. I'm a little bit lower on this one because Rutgers has been losing players left and right, and Georgetown is in such a spot. I don't know what we're getting here, but some people really like the appeal of a 50-52 game at the rack. So what say you?
Yeah, I mean, this is all a part of the way too early rankings. We have no idea what this Georgetown roster is. I mean, they have 4 roster spots open left, I think, as we speak. So, I mean, I have no idea. Now, coming in for Rutgers, David Griffiths is number 47 on ESPN's top 100, and transfer Noah Fernandez, 13.4 points per game at UMass last year. The standalone game at the rack scares the bejesus out of me for any team going in there. I mean, I'm not sure what Ed Cooley – nobody knows what Ed Cooley's Georgetown Hoya is. Wow. That was crazy to say. I think that was the first time I said it out loud. Was it weird to hear?
Very weird to hear.
Yeah, it was weird to say. I mean, you hit the nail right on the head when you said this was going to be a barometer of where Georgetown's at because – we got no idea, no clue what this game's going to look like.
And this is one I think that could shoot up the spiciness scale a little bit with Cam Spencer still in the portal. He entered late there from Rutgers, and Georgetown has been interested. If he picks Georgetown, we get a little bit of a revenge game here, and the Hoyas are looking a little bit better. The issue is I'm not sure how good this Rutgers team is. This could be a game between 2 teams who don't make the tournament. It probably is right now, again, pending what Rutgers looks like. And I think it's still an interesting game. Very watchable. We're going to learn a lot about where the Hoyas are in year 1 with Ed Cooley and going through a huge rebuild. And if they can kind of get ahead of schedule on this thing and pick up a win here. But outside of that, I think this is a tough one as it looks currently.
Sidebar, I need your thoughts on the whole Ron Harper going at – well, not going at the. Did you see the saga on Twitter with Dan
Dakich?
Yeah.
Has Dan Dakich ever been in the right about anything?
That's up for the jury to decide. That was why I love that from Ron Harper though.
Yeah, I always think about that tweet something along the lines of every day on Twitter, there's a main character, and your goal is to not be it. Dan Daycatch has been the main character way too often.
Far too often.
Yeah. Oh, not great. And that's a win for Ron Harper. So, a nice little Rutgers win in the offseason. You'll take it with the number of players that they've lost. After I finished the article, and the next day, Rutgers lost somebody else to the portal. So, or no, it was a recruit, I believe, who decommitted.
That'll happen.
Something along those lines. So, not looking great over there in Piscataway. Maybe still worth tuning in. I think it'll be interesting, just not as interesting as some of the other ones, because I think all of these other games should have at least one tournament team. That's going to start with what I have as the 6th best game, Iowa at Creighton. Iowa they've had offenses like every year. They have a good offense. We've seen Creighton have really good defenses the last couple of years. And I think that makes this an interesting Midwest matchup. But as I think we're going to talk about a little bit later, more in depth, we don't know who's playing for Creighton. We have no idea what this roster is actually going to look like. I think we can speculate. We can have a rough idea, but nobody knows for sure what that starting lineup is going to look like. And this is a Creighton team that can be top 10 preseason good all the way to potentially out of the tournament, depending on how things break for them in the next month or May 31st is the deadline for pulling out of the draft. So the next week
or so.
Yeah. The next week we're going to find out. Do you agree that this is the 6th best of the games, or would you bump this one higher?
Right now, yeah, for sure. 6 is about as high as you could go with this one, to be completely honest with you, with the lack of information on the Creighton side of things and the turnaround on the Iowa side of things. They have 5 guys returning and 6 newcomers coming in. So it's going to be a lot of turnaround. We thought the last game, Georgetown and Rutgers, was going to be a big unknown. I hate to do this as like a podcast, but it's the offseason. Like there's no way we can predict what's going to happen, what these kids are going to do. So as of right now, I mean, it's just a huge question mark. I think on paper, if the play, I will get into it a little bit more when we give our way too early rankings. But if the players come back that we think are going to come back for the Creighton Blue Jays, I don't think they should have any trouble handling the Iowa Hawkeyes. But we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, this is definitely like Iowa's a team that probably should be in the dance next year. If I had to guess, that's where they're going to be. If you're able to pick up a win at Creighton, I think regardless, Creighton's going to be at least good. So that could be a big opportunity for Iowa to go on the road and get a win. I have the next game up, number 5. This is the same night. And I was moving these back and forth a little bit before I finalized it. Number 5, Marquette at Illinois. The only reason I was a little bit less interested in this at first is because Illinois has had a lot of roster turnover, and Marquette is going to have probably almost no roster turnover from a team that was very good last year. And this is interesting because it's a championship caliber team going on the road against a tournament caliber team. And that's always where you can get your upsets and you can really get your big resume boosters. But I also really like Illinois, Iowa. These are 2 teams that I don't know if we have any idea exactly how good they're going to be next season.
No, not at all. I mean, anytime you lose guys like Terrence Shannon, Matthew Mayer, RJ Melendez,
Jaden Epps coming into Georgetown.
Big East transfer. Sky Clark never really found his footing over there at Illinois. Before I go further, do we have any intel on Coleman Hawkins and his whereabouts or anything like that? Is he still in limbo?
That I have no idea about.
Yeah. Not that it would really matter. I mean, this Marquette team, they won the Big East last year. This team is obviously talented, and they have a whole offseason to gel with the National Coach of the Year. I'm very high on this Marquette team in May right now. I probably will be when the season starts in November too. I like this matchup for them on paper. Going into Illinois is tough, but they'll be able to get the job done.
Yeah, that's kind of what I expect here. And this is one of the whole things with the Gavitt Games too that makes this a little bit tough to predict is there's a lot of Big Ten teams that kind of sit somewhere in the 20 to 60 range in your rankings right now. A bunch of teams that are probably good enough to make the tournament, but not all of them will. and which ones in that group end up being top 25 teams and get a 4 seed or a 5 seed or a 6 seed, and which ones end up in a play-in game or out of the tournament is anyone's guess right now. These games are going to do a lot to determine where teams end up. That's why I think right now for both Illinois and Iowa, these last two, it's huge opportunities because they're going against some of the best programs in the Big East right off the bat. A win there could be what gets you into the dance in March. So that's where those get interesting. Let's get into the top half here, because this is where things get interesting. Game number 4 is one that I should be going to right down the road from me here. Just hop on the train and head into Manhattan as Michigan takes on St. John's. I don't know what's going on at Michigan. I don't think we have any idea what that team's going to look like or if it's going to be good. But I have this as one of the most interesting games because it's Rick Pitino at Madison Square Garden with probably a ton of fans there against a team that also has a huge fan base and brings people in. I think this is going to be a big test of what the culture and enthusiasm around St. John's is like in the second week of the season with Rick.
Yeah, I mean, this might be his first home game. I mean, the schedule hasn't released yet, but there's a chance that this is his first game at Madison Square Garden. Before I go into the matchup and everything, let's just shout out a name on Michigan coming in. I know you're big on jerseys. I'm big on the all-name teams. Michigan has someone coming in, George Washington III. Like, that's a dope name. And if I'm correct, I think he was an Ohio State commit that decommitted and then committed to Michigan. Could be wrong. Probably wrong. But George Washington III, that's a heck of a name. Anyhow, I'm very high.
Yes, you are correct. He did. He decommitted from Ohio State back in September.
That's amazing. So a traitor, George Washington.
I love it.
You're a Michigan guy, so
I am.
Football,
that's my football. Yeah, that's my football team. So love to see it.
Clear that air. I'm really high on the St. John's team. I'm not gonna lie here. I mean, the Villanova plays Penn in the Big Five in Philadelphia, so we've had our fair share of run-ins with Mr. Jordan Dingle. I think I did a pretty good job hitting the nail on the head. Bryce Hopkins was my pick for transfer of the year last year. I'm thinking with Jordan Dingle, he might not only be the best transfer in the Big East this year, he might be the best player in the Big East this year. That's my May hot take. I am huge on Jordan Dingle. Chris the Dingle, I know if you're listening, you're probably giggling and clapping your hands over there
Chris
too.
The Dingle.
Chris the Dingle. There we go. Let's get that over to him. But yeah, I'm really high on this St. John's team. I think they take care of business. Michigan has a Big East transfer, Trey Jackson from Seton Hall coming in. They had Caleb Love until they didn't, which admissions, whatever you want to call it, don't have the impact.
Year in a row at Michigan, they've lost a transfer due to admissions. I do wonder some of the time if that's not an admissions issue and that's them saying, "Oh, we didn't actually want this guy. We're going to let him go."
Yeah. Between admissions and Hunter Dickinson saying he didn't even get – he said he didn't get $10,000 in NIL at Michigan last year. There's a world of problems over there besides their coach punching other coaches. But St. John, this is a long-winded response that I'm talking about nothing. But that's what the offseason's for, and I think St. John's is going to take care of business.
Yeah, I agree. I do think this is an opportunity for a statement from St. John's to plant that flag, reclaim New York City, and make MSG a true home environment again. And that's where I like this because you're going against a big fan base that travels with Michigan. There's a lot of Michigan fans in New York City, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of maize and blue in the stands. And St. John's being able to drown that out, make it a sea of red, I think would be big for this program. That's been they've been itching for that for a while now. And I mean, it's Slick Rick back at MSG. There's no way this wasn't going to be in the top half of the game. This is just, I can't wait. That's going to be fantastic. And that's the Monday night. This is going to help start off the Gavitt Games with an absolute banger of a game.
Yeah, this could have been higher. This is at 4. This definitely has top 3 potential.
Yeah. And speaking of the top 3, this is sharing Monday night with another game that I think should just be excellent. Xavier at Purdue. Yeah, Xavier made that nice little run in the tournament last year. I don't think Purdue fans really want to talk about last year's tournament at this point, but two very good coaches, two teams that should be very good. I don't know the status of Zach Edey right now and if he's going to play in this for Purdue. I think we're still waiting on a decision there, but this is just, I don't know, I trust both of these coaches to always put a quality product on the floor. And you're going to get Jerome Hunter from the old Indiana days going up against his old Indiana rival there with Purdue. So, yeah, I'm a fan.
I was just going to ask you, does Xavier have anyone returning come to the top of your mind? I can't think of anyone right now. Sorry, Jerome. Had to. I don't think this game is going to be good. I think Xavier's going to run away with this. Edey, he's in the transfer. Yeah, Edey's in the transfer portal as well. There's a chance he doesn't return to Purdue, and I wasn't, really dissecting Purdue's games last year. But if you take Zach Edey off that team, and in the 40 minutes I watched of Purdue's guards last year in that tournament against Fairleigh Dickinson, I just don't see a way Xavier loses that one.
It's on the road. It's at Mackey. That's a tough place to go into.
It is at Mackey, and McKnight, he doesn't scare me, but it's going to be a real barometer to see where he's at in terms of kind of not stepping into that Sule boom role, but kind of forging his own path in Sule's footsteps.
Yeah, this will be a tough environment for those guys on the Musketeers. Again, they're kind of calling up some guys from lower conferences, making it an all-star team of some guys. And you know what? We'll see how it ends up working. I like the Xavier team. We'll talk about them in a little bit here, but it's just so hard to go into that environment and win, man. And I don't think Xavier needs to win this game either. I think as long as this game is competitive, you feel pretty good about it. It's a road game against a team that's probably going to be ranked when you play them. And I think we're going to get high quality basketball too. Like this is like whereas St. John's, Michigan is narratives, story, emotions. This is just two really good teams in a good environment, just playing good basketball, good coaches, super solid. And, it's two Midwest teams, too, which I like.
Yeah. I do like that a lot, too. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together there. I like that.
Yeah.
I agree with – it's a regular season, so Matt Painter should show up. High-level basketball early on in the season.
Might be more concerned if I was a Purdue fan if they're playing, like –
in the tournament.
Butler or DePaul, some of those worst teams.
Oh, God. DePaul catching grades.
They do well against. I'm sorry, DePaul. I like the Blue Demons. It's just the reality of the situation right now.
Unfortunately, you're right.
Yeah. But yeah. All right. Time for the top 2.
Let's do it.
All right. Number 2, Kim English, the Providence Friars. Welcome in the Wisconsin Badgers to the AMP. This will be a Tuesday night game. I'm looking forward to this one. Wisconsin may be ranked at this point, may or may not be ranked. It's a Wisconsin team that's returning a lot from last year, and they had some good recruits, and they had AJ Storr. Wisconsin should be good. Providence, as we all know, had a nice quiet offseason with nothing of note happening there. Just a normal offseason here for the Friars. This is the first test for Kim English. It'll probably be his 3rd game as head coach of the Providence Friars, and it's going to be a ranked team coming into your building. The first time a ranked non-Big East team has come into that building since the Gavitt Games back in the 17-18 season when Minnesota did it. This is as big a test as it's going to be in that position for a young coach, and I think it'll be emotional and really good basketball.
This was the second time that this happened to me tonight. Going through my notes, and I looked down and I said, when did AJ Storr get on the Wisconsin Badgers? This offseason has been insane in terms of everybody.
He wanted to stay in red. I think that was his priority.
He must have got a lot of red shoes or shooting sleeves or what have you, and doesn't want to switch up. But what an addition for this team that's returning guys like Tyler Wall and Chucky Hepburn and Connor and Asijan, I believe is how you pronounce it.
I wasn't even going to try to say that name.
Yeah.
Chucky Hepburn is good, too. This is Wisconsin's had really good defenses. Then you add the shooting of AJ Storr.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. And fresh out the frying pan into the fryer for Kim English. This is certainly going to be a top 25 team. At home, his first week. Is it his first week at
Second
Providence?
week.
Second week? Yeah. I mean, good luck.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I think one of the most interesting things about Kim English's tenure at George Mason, his fourth game ever at George Mason, they played a ranked Maryland team on the road and won. And that was kind of where they said that was kind of the welcome party for Kim English to being a head coach. And he talked in interviews. I think they lost like the next 4 games after that, and there was a recalibration because the expectations get high and it's a roller coaster. He talks about learning a lot out of that. I think it's funny that he's going to be in a very similar position against a Big Ten team and a new team as a head coach. And we're also going to learn a lot about the Friars. I think this is a Providence offense that should be very good. Bryce Hopkins, Devin Carter, Jaden Pierre, Corey Floyd, Garway Duel, Ticket Gaines, all these guys, and Justin Fernandez coming in there, Richard Barrett. They get this loaded backcourt of guys. And we know Kim English wants to play fast. We know he wants to shoot the basketball. Here's a good defense. Prove that you can do it. Prove that your guys are ready. They can execute. They can knock down the shots. That's what I'm looking for in this one.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge prove it game. Sorry, I just got completely distracted just processing, which was Tyler Kolek on that George Mason team?
They missed each other. Well, there was overlap, but they did. Tyler Kolek never played under Kim English.
Okay.
When Kim English came in, it was he got hired in the spring, and Kolek was still there because he hadn't transferred yet. So there was a little overlap. So they know each other a little bit. But that's the extent of their connection.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a huge game for Providence here. They can really bust the doors open and say, we're here. Ed Cooley's not here anymore, but we can still do it. I mean, this is going to be a raucous environment, I think. The Providence fans have been through enough this offseason. They got all this pent-up energy. It's Wisconsin, so you know the Barstool guys are going to be there. At least Big Cat is. They're going to feed off that energy. I like Providence in this one. It's going to be a tough test for them. I'm high on Wisconsin, but I'm also high on Providence. This is going to be a really good one, and it deserves to be in the top 2.
Yeah, and I'm excited. And I think this could have been one, if not for the fact that I think the number 1 game on here is one that offers just as high quality basketball and better rivalry, a little bit more emotional stuff for the stuff on the court. And our number 1, it's Villanova, Maryland. This will probably like cap the games. This will be on the Friday night, which is nice. It's the Hakeem Hart Bowl as he transferred from Maryland up to Villanova this offseason. And I think one of the themes with these top 2 games that we're talking about, it's young head coaches at programs with high expectations looking to take advantage of an early opportunity at home to beat what should be a really good team. And, it's Villanova and Maryland, right? 2 teams not that far apart, right up 95. Like, how excited are you for this one?
Dude, I am stoked for this one. Maryland got one of our recruits that we were he was our number 1 target in the 2023 class. I'm sorry, Deshaun Harris Smith. He's a dog. Reminds me a lot of Justin Moore, one of those stereotypical DMV kids. Can do it all strong. I'm so excited for the Hakeem Hart Bowl. I can't even hide it. We're playing it in the Finneran Pavilion. Kevin Willard's coming back. He hates the Finn. I hope we play it in our auxiliary gym, the Jake Nevin, and I hope we play it at like 10 p.m. because that would throw Kevin Willard for a tizzy. I saw that on Twitter. Shout out to whoever tweeted that. That made me laugh. But yeah, this is going to be – there's so many storylines. Justin Moore, obviously the rumors are flying in the offseason. He was pegged to go to Maryland with Hunter Dickinson, apparently, and that never happened. His girlfriend just transferred to Maryland. Fun fact.
Very
basketball.
interesting.
Yeah, Jakia Brown-Turner. So I'm sure she'll be at the game. But yeah, I mean, you can take the storylines. And all the storylines for this one are, there's a million of them. But at the end of the day, you look at these 2 teams, and these aren't 2 slouch teams. Villanova is going to be right in and around the top 25, and Maryland should be as well. So this is going to be fun. This is going to be a return of an old foe with Kevin Willard. I can't wait for this one. This is my favorite non-con game so far this year.
Yeah, this is going to be fantastic. The environment's going to be great. I love that this is in the Finn because I love that it's like that small environment. especially for one of these where like it's. I think Villanova and Maryland have not played each other that much, which shocked me because this feels like it should be a regional rivalry. Like that, it makes sense. You're close enough, and like that makes sense. I'm shocked they haven't played as much, but even without that, I think there's gonna be. It feels like there's just bad blood built in here with Hakeem Hart and with Kevin Willard, the connections, like small gym, emotions are gonna get high, and I like Villanova in this one too because Justin Moore and Eric Dixon, a great duo there against this Maryland team, and you got veterans all over the place with Hart, with TJ Bamba, and then a little bit of growth for some of the young guys. And I'll take Villanova to win this game. I don't know if we're doing predictions on this, but I do think they win. I think these top two we talked about, I think the Big East teams win both of them, and Neptune and Kim English both make statements early in the season.
Yeah, man, I got Nova going 35-0 this year. No setbacks at all. They're going to win every game. No, but yeah, this is going to be one person we didn't talk about, Lance Ware for Villanova, just came over, Kentucky guy, averaged 2-2 for a Kentucky. Not going to pop off the page. He's behind Oscar Tshiebwe. I mean, he got enough playing time. What I love about what I'm hearing about him was he's a leader, universally loved by the guys in the locker room. Cal loved him for his maturity and his leadership qualities. That's what we want at Villanova. He's 6'9". He's not a mountain like Donovan Clingan is, but he's a tough kid. He's a strong kid. He's not gonna get pushed around in the paint, and allowing him to play the 5 with Eric Dixon moving to the 4 is going to be. I'm couldn't be more excited for this season.
Yeah. No, and you look at what happened with Lance Ware and his recruiting, and it kind of came down to Providence and Villanova, and I think you look at the playing time situation, and it adds up. Joshua Duro is going to be your starter there for Providence. He's a good player. He's played under Kim English for a while. He's going to get a lot of minutes. If Eric Dixon is going to play at the 4 a little bit more next season, and you're going to try to spread it out, and he's going to add that to his game, then you're going to get more minutes at the 5 at Villanova. There's just more time available there. So I wasn't surprised to see Lance Ware make that decision the way it came down. And I think it'll be a nice little addition there. Do we want to get just into our rankings? We're getting into these teams. I think we get into our Big East rankings right now.
Yeah, mine is extremely loose. I hate way too early rankings. I want to put that out there. I'm going to offend at least 6 fan bases, maybe including my own. So I apologize just in advance. This is very loose right now.
Yeah. And this is also a way for us to go through. We're going to go through these teams, and we're going to talk about what's changed about the rosters, NBA draft stuff relevant to each team, who could come back, who's coming in, stuff like that. So that's kind of how we're going to do this. We'll start at the bottom. I think you said you have a tie for 11th place in yours. And I didn't take the coward's way out. I actually did rank the teams one by one. But I see how you're doing it over there, Tommy. But do you want me to start with the team I had 11th?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I am so sorry, Blue Demon Degenerate, but I do have DePaul in last at the moment, which I felt horrendous about. But
yeah,
I feel like this group added the least of anybody in the Big East.
Yeah, I'm also sorry. I have to have DePaul down there. You're absolutely. I love Chico Carter. Like Jeremiah Odin's nice. Like Jaden Henley.
Jermaine, I believe is it Jermaine Dramani Kamara, who's coming in from Senegal, is I think a really interesting guy. He's the type of guy where if you hit on him, I think DePaul can really shoot up and turn into something because he's kind of an unknown.
Yeah, and this isn't to say DePaul is going to be bad. I think they're going to be just as good, maybe even a little better this year. But this year's Big East is just it's going to be a battle. I know John Rothstein tweets it out like once a day, that picture like Batman and Bane or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's not a knock on DePaul. I think they're going to be fine. But it's a stacked field so far.
Yeah. And it's just tough for them. I feel bad too. Nick Ongenda, he's listed as in limbo on Jeff Porzello's tracker right now. I think we're still waiting for a decision from him on what he is going to do. I've looked into this and I couldn't really get a clear answer one way or another on what he's doing next season. So I think we're still waiting. If he's back, that'll help. They missed him a lot last season, and you saw him come back and win them a game in the Big East tournament last year. I do have like the upside here for DePaul is this. You got Zion Cruz coming back. I think he was a little bit disappointing last year, but he's very highly recruited, very highly ranked. If he figures things out and is able to take a sophomore leap, that could be big. Caleb Murphy is a guy who I think is similar, got injured, never really got going last year. I think he's going to have an opportunity. I like Deshaun Nelson, and I like the Chico Carter. I really like that for them. But in the arms race that is the Big East, these are not the biggest weapons out there.
No, certainly not. I actually had them in a tie for last.
You want to give your other team an 11?
I don't know if yeah, I mean, I think I have all of them tied for 11th. I have an 11-way tie for last place in the Big East. I'm just taking the absolute coward way out. But no, my tie for 11th right now, as we speak, is a team that's losing Tyrese Samuel, Casey Ndefo, Femi Odekale, Trey Jackson, Jameer Harris, Alexis Yetna, Tay Davis, and more. Alamir Dawes is coming back, which is going to be huge, as is Kadari Richmond, Jaquan Harris, Dylan Adeyewusu in conference transfer is nice. I'm not the biggest believer in Shaheen Holloway yet. I would love to be proven wrong in that aspect, but I do not have. I'll put it this way: I have Seton Hall's ceiling much higher than DePaul's, but their floors are just about the same for me.
All right. See, we definitely don't see eye to eye on this one. I've got Seton Hall up at 8th, only because I think in Alamir Dawes, Kadari Richmond, and Dylan Adewusu guard trio is really promising. I think that's a group that should be able to play really good defense and score pretty well. I like the way those pieces fit together. I'm still not sold on the rest of this in how it's going to fit, and I don't think Seton Hall, I think, had probably the 10th best offseason in the Big East. But they're retaining some pieces here who are good guys. Like Kadari Richmond's a guy who can be all Big East if things go the right way and things break out for him. And you add in some complementary pieces there, and I think they'll be competitive. I think this will be a decent team. And if these guys buy into what Shaheen Holloway is doing a little bit more than the group we saw last year, you might have a group with the same talent that buys in better to the coach. I think that's going to play off better.
Yeah, I think they'll all be competitive. I don't think that there's going to be a Georgetown this year, a team that you just Sharpie in a win on your calendar. Again, sorry, DePaul and Butler. Yeah, they're all going to be competitive. So you have things clicking, and I can see that. If things click, I would also have them around a 7 or 8 spot. I just don't see that in Shaheen Holloway's second year. Again, would love to be proven wrong.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that kind of stood out to me here that I thought was interesting, I was going through Bart Torvik's projections for next season, and when you factor in Alamir Dawes for Seton Hall, Pirates are ranked at 52 in the country, which is good for middle of the pack in the Big East. And that made me pause for a second and really look back at that guard room with Trey Davis still staying there, who I think can be a pretty good player if he continues to develop. And I don't know if they can. We know Shaheen Holloway is going to coach that defense up. If they can get that scoring going, then I'm not that worried about the defense. Obviously, we'll see. So I had him 8th. You had him tied for 11th, effectively 10th.
Effectively 10th, yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'll come over for my team that's 10th. And I feel like we're going to be around the same spot on this team, and that's Butler.
Oh, I was going to say, you want to say it at the same time? Yeah, it's Butler for sure.
Yeah, and I don't hate this Butler. Like the Butler lost a lot, but I think Butler needed to lose a lot. I think you needed to restart there with guys that fit into what Thad Matta is trying to do. I'm just not sure still what Thad Matta is really trying to do here. I mean, Pierre Brooks is the highest recruited guy they've gotten, and Posh Alexander is a nice add. Jamal Telfort is a guy who scored before. DJ Davis is a guy who's a scorer at a lower level, but like you're relying on Posh Alexander to become a first team All Big East point guard like he was preseason last year, and I don't know if you're going to get that out of him.
Yeah, I love what you said that they lost a lot, but they needed to lose a lot. With this Butler team, I think this is a team that could finish up there. By up there, I mean maybe sixth or seventh, maybe seventh. Posh Alexander, we talked about it before the show. In conference transfer, this was the first time I've seen his name in a while. Finley Bizjack, he's number 97 in ESPN's top 100. I've never seen someone 90 to 100 get as much buzz as Finley Bizjack has before, and deservedly so. I mean, the kid's a bucket. He's got an awesome name. I think he could make an impact right away. Jalen Thomas and Connor Turnbull. Again, Chris Thedingle, big on Connor Turnbull. But yeah, Andre Screen coming in. He's a mountain. This Butler team has pieces.
Yeah, I see. Here's the thing. I see how the pieces fit together. I'm just not convinced that the pieces are, NCAA tournament quality or even NIT quality at the moment. Could be convinced. Obviously, this is May. We don't even have draft decisions yet. So remember when we're talking about this, that like it's going to change. This is to set a baseline. So when we revisit this in October, we kind of have something to work off of and something to adjust based off of. But yeah, I think it's a rough off season here for Butler. I don't think they got as much value out of the portal as you would have hoped.
Yeah, you and I are both like scrambling on our words here to describe this Butler team. It's tough. And let's who do you have at 9?
I've got Georgetown there. I think you had Butler at 9.
De facto 9, yeah.
Yeah. So I've got Georgetown at 9 for me. Where do you have Georgetown?
8.
All right. So the bottom 4 is the same for both of us. It's just the order that's different.
Just the order. Yep.
Yeah. So let's talk about Georgetown and how they look for next year, because this is the highest variance team, I think, down here, and I think talent on the roster might say better than this, but there's a certain lack of trust that just comes with that name right now. What are your thoughts on the Hoyas?
I mean, they lost everybody, and they're bringing everyone new in. This is an insane overhaul, including the coach. This Georgetown team is going to be the biggest enigma of the offseason. My girlfriend's a big UNC fan, so I watched a lot of Dontrez Styles. His numbers don't pop off the page, but I am excited to watch the North Carolina transfer in an Ed Cooley offense next year. Of course, Jaden Epps, 9.5 points per game at Illinois, and Drew Fielder, who was a Providence recruit that Ed Cooley stole. I mean, Georgetown can finish top 5. They could finish last. I mean, they still have 4 open roster spots. I don't know how those are going to get filled, so it's hard to judge right now. So for those reasons, I can't put them anywhere higher than the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, and I think the thing here, like Jaden Epps, that's the guy you're relying on here. Supremely talented, couldn't figure it out at Illinois. Georgetown is hoping that he will be the Bryce Hopkins for that team, in being the guy who Ed Cooley gets the second time around as a highly recruited guy to break out for him. And we've seen Cooley be very good with point guards in the past. He's been very good at developing them. I know Jeff Battle has played a role in that, and Kyron Cartwright on that staff now has played a role in that. The depth here. And I think you got guys who you'd want to be depth who could currently be in the starting lineup if you had to put one out there, and they could find a way to add a starter. I'm going to feel a lot better about them. I don't even know if that's available in the portal unless they get Cam Spencer, and then we might be revising this a little bit. Jay Heath with Jaden Epps, I like. Cook, when healthy, is a really good defender and a guy who had been previously recruited by Ed Cooley. Drew Fielder, Masood Ismail is
Ishmael Massoud.
Thank you. Massoud
Yeah.
from Kansas State's a really good defender, and I think he kind of play the Justin Minaya role on this team if we're making analogies to past Ed Cooley teams. See the way the pieces fit together. This is just you need to roll a nat 20 on every single one of these dice for this to all come together and be a really good team. Otherwise, I think you're going to be up and down all season long.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. All right. Do we get into the top 7 now? 'Cause in my eyes, the top 7 are all teams that could, arguably should make the NCAA tournament.
100% agree. Yeah, and this top 7, you could literally dartboard this top 7. Yeah. It's that good.
Well, and I think if we want to break this down for a second, I think the Big East is clearly in 3 tiers right now. There's the teams that won't make the tournament, which is that bottom 4 we just talked about, where you need everything to go right to make it. There's teams that should make the tournament, but probably aren't contending for like the regular season title. And then there's a top 2. I think we're probably on the same page about that. A top 2 that are going to be contending for the actual regular season title and who will be national title contenders. And I think a lot of teams in that middle tier can jump into the top tier. We just have to see it happen. But let's start with 7. Who do you got there?
I have the Providence Friars at 7, and that is not a knock on the Friars. I think they're going to be good this year. I think they're going to be really good. They're going to be taller. They're going to be tougher. They're going to be faster than they were last year. First-year head coach, new program. That's a bit risky. I have confidence in Kim English as an X's and O coach, at least in the first 38 minutes of a game. But yeah, I'm loving who they brought in. You mentioned it a little bit earlier, but the newcomers include the recommitment of Garway Duel, Donovan Santoro, Richard Barron, Josh Odoro, 15.6 points per game with George Mason. He's going to be an issue in the paint. Keeping Bryce Hopkins, Devin Carter, Jaden Pierre is huge. They have the pieces. I think that if we get a good performance from Kim English, this Providence team could finish top 4. If not, they could be around. I don't think they'll finish any worse than 7th.
I have the Friars up at 5th. And I think it's because I might be a little bit more optimistic about how Bryce Hopkins fits in this system than you are. I actually, the Kim English hire, I actually really like for Hopkins in particular because he's a very physical player. We know Ed Cooley likes to lean into that. He's also trying to go to the NBA, and he has the talent. He has the shooting. He was a really good 3-point shooter last year in limited volume, and that's something Kim English likes to work with. He likes to shoot the ball, and if you watch any practice videos from Providence, it's all 3-point shots and pull up mid-range and stuff like that. He wants the guys to be able to do that. If you can get Bryce Hopkins to become that kind of guy and take a step with his shooting, he could be Big East Player of the Year next season. He was already unanimous first team last year, and he could get better. If he does take that next step, he'll be a guy who will go to the NBA draft, and that's a Providence team that could go as high as 3rd in the Big East if things do come together. But I just think when you got a guy that good on the team, I couldn't put them lower than 5th, at least in my eyes, even with the coach.
That's completely fair. I might have overlooked the impact that Bryce Hopkins could make. He was that good last year. It's just so tough. It's so early to pick these top 7, and there's some reasons that Providence could, like you said, they could finish top 3, but they also could finish in that 5 to 7 range. And I'm a little bit, I'm a Philly guy, so I'm just naturally pessimistic. There we go. That's why I got them at 7.
I got the Friars 5. You got them at 7. Let's move to 6. I'll give my 6 here.
Yeah, go for it.
Or unless do you want me to give my 7, who I had there? How do you want me to do this?
Yeah, give your 7.
All right. My 7's going to be St. John's. And I hated putting St. John's this low because the other teams, like I really like what they're doing, but I love the way the pieces fit together for the Red Storm. Joel Soriano is another guy who, he would have been in the Big East Player of the Year race last year if St. John's was a better team. He had the numbers. It was just the team success that he needed. Now you put shooters around him and a team that I think will just play better defense. Rick Pitino is going to instill that in his guys. Jordan Dingle and RJ Cruz and Sean Conway and guys like that who can all shoot the basketball. You had Hassan Diarra, a little bit of that championship DNA coming from Connecticut. And I like the way the pieces fit. Oh, add in Brady Dunlap, who they stole away as a recruit from Villanova. And Danis Jenkins. That's the other name I was looking for from Iona as a guy who can shoot. I think you got a dynamic guard pairing to go with one of the best big men in the Big East. And that you make that work, and that's a group that can finish high. I have them 7th. I hate having them 7th because I think this is a team that could finish 3rd, and it wouldn't surprise me at all.
I'm going to let Chris the Dingle take my point right here. I love this St. John's team. I am extremely high on them. I have them at 5th right now just because those 4 teams I think are on another tier. But I mean, the addition by subtraction, getting rid of guys like David Jones, who you forgot was on the floor sometimes when he was playing at St. John's.
Did you see? We got a David Jones update today.
Yeah, 2 Big East teams are recruiting him.
Xavier and UConn, apparently. Dude just loves playing in the Big East. I respect he's just like me for real.
We should get him on the pod just as like a co-host. He just loves.
I love it. He's gonna have a better Big East perspective than anybody else right now
because he's played on all 11 teams. Yeah, David Jones, Andre Curbelo, getting rid of guys like that and bringing in the Jordan Dingles, the what's his? I'm drawing a blank. Oh, Danis Jenkins. Sorry. RJ Luis, keeping Joel Soriano, Brady Dunlap. I loved Zuby Ejiofor, I think is how you pronounce it.
Ejiofor?
Ejiofor,
like yeah.
Something like that. Nova was in the mix for him. I love the St. John's team. I don't think you can overstate how big of a coaching upgrade getting Rick Pitino is. I have them at 5th, but I mean, it is a first-year head coach. It is New York City. You don't know how these kids are going to react to playing in front of that, but give me Pitino every time.
Yeah, I'm just not betting against that, man. That's where like the top 7 in the Big East here could be absolutely loaded. And I think 3 through 7 are interchangeable. You can put these teams in a lot of different orders. Let's go to 6 because we got our 5 and our 7, and we had different teams there. I got Villanova at 6.
I could see it. Actually, I can't. I have them. What do I have them at, Susan? 35 and
35. You got Villanova first. 35 and 0 is weird because you got 31 regular season games, 3 Big East tournament games. Are they winning 1 game in the NCAA tournament and then forfeiting? Like they're done.
The national championship. We got to buy.
Buy to the Natty.
Yep.
New rule this year. Kyle Neptune, master negotiator.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you want me to give you my 6, or you want to talk about Nova?
Let's talk about Nova. Where do you have them?
I have Nova at 3.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I have them figuring things out. Keeping Justin Moore, who very well may win Big East preseason player of the year. Keeping guys like Eric Dixon, having Mark Armstrong and Jordan Longino off the bench, giving guys like Trey Patterson and Nana Njoku another year to develop, also adding Lance Ware, TJ Bamba, Hakeem Hart. They have all the pieces. It's just up to Kyle Neptune to take them where they need to go, and I got confidence in him to do so.
Yeah, I think they got a really good top 6 here. My only concern with Villanova is going to be the defense, in part because they're not going to get any kind of rim protection, and quite frankly, that applies to Providence too. Right now, I think there's a couple teams here in this mid range, and that have offenses that should be really good and good defenders throughout the group, but no rim protection, and that makes life harder. I think Villanova's defense should be better than it was last year, but relative to the offense, I'm not as sure. I like the veteran experience, and yeah, I mean, Bart Torvik right now has Villanova as 18 in his projections for next year. He really likes them. So this will be a big test for Kyle Neptune because Villanova is talented enough to finish 3rd. That would not surprise me at all. But who do you have as 6th then?
Hear me out. All right.
Oh boy.
This is May. and this team has as many question marks as the next. I have the Creighton Blue Jays at 6.
Okay.
Only because their roster right now is Baylor Shireman, Frederick King, Francisco Farabello, and Mason Miller. And
Stephen Ashworth.
Yeah, and then they brought in Stephen Ashworth. I could have Creighton going as high as 3 or 4. I do expect Ryan Kalkbrenner to come back. No inside information, just reading the tea leaves and a hunch. Trey Alexander, not too sure about. Losing Arthur Kaluma was tough. Of course, Ryan Nemhard leaving as well was tough. As it's constructed right now, I have Creighton at 6, but that is completely subject to change.
Yeah, this is the toughest team to figure out right now. I think they could be anywhere from 7th, even 8th, if things really fall apart, up to 1st. Wouldn't shock me if everybody ends up coming back. Well, this is where we start looking at the draft preview too. I looked at the last mock draft from Sam Viceni to get an idea here. They have Arthur Kaluma being picked 43rd. He has Kaluma at 43rd and Kalkbrenner at 45th. If Kalkbrenner leaves, I think they're going to be in trouble. But if he stays, and Trey Alexander, I think, is one of the big question marks here, but I think Kaluma is probably gone. But Ashworth, Shireman, and Kalkbrenner, I think, is an elite trio. I think they all play off of each other really well. I think they fit that scheme. I question the depth, and I have issues there, but good coach, really good players. I like that trio. I think it can carry that team. Trey Alexander comes back, too. This is a team that can compete to win the Big East. But there's a scenario where none of these guys come back, and it's Stephen Ashworth, Baylor Shireman, Isaac Trod, however you're gonna, I don't know how you pronounce that, the Virginia transfer, Mason Miller, Ben Schultz. Like, they got fine guys out there, but I think that's a team that will be somewhere in the middle of the pack. Ben Schultz, I don't know why I said he's coming back. He's leaving. He's one of the guys out. Frederick King, Farabello, Mason Miller, those are the guys, depth guys coming back.
Josiah Dotzler coming in. If Kalkbrenner and Trey Alexander don't come back, which I don't know. Maybe they will. If they don't come back and it's that team that you talked about in the ladder, it could be extremely it could be dark for this.
And I think Kalkbrenner might be the most important guy with a draft decision left here in the Big East, just because of the implications and what he means for that team and specifically that defense. So we'll see what happens. I had Creighton up at 4 because I'm assuming we have Kalkbrenner coming back. And because I think we have Alexander coming back too. He wasn't picked in that mock. So I had him at 4. You had him at 6. So we have 5, 6, and 7. All right. So I think we got to hear your 4. I think that's where we're up to now.
My 4 is the Xavier Musketeers.
All right. And that's who I have at 3. Is that where I think we're just basically rounded out with this mid-tier here?
Yeah, I mean, the only teams we have left are the
Xavier, UConn, Marquette. Those are the teams we got left.
Perfect.
I love it. Let's talk Xavier.
Yeah, they got Zach back, which was huge. Zach Fremantle coming back, Cam Kraft, Desmond Clotter, the only returners for Xavier. Sorry, I was just waiting for the chat to blow up. Of course, Jerome Hunter coming back as well. Added Quincy Oliveri, who I'm a big fan of. I think this Xavier team could finish 2 or 3. I don't know if they have the fight. I mean, they could win the Big East tournament. They're definitely a team that can make a run in the NCAA tournament. I'll talk about my number 1 in a minute, but I think this season the what it rides on is going to be Davion McKnight, 16.5 points per game at Western Kentucky. Can he translate that into the Big East? I don't know. I have confidence in him to do so. That's why I have him in the top tier. So I have Xavier in the top tier. There we go. But yeah, a lot's going to ride on him.
Yeah. I think Xavier. I've got Xavier at 3rd. I'm very high on Xavier for next year because I have faith in Sean Miller. But we just saw him pull guys. We just saw him pull Sule Boom from Conference USA last year, and it worked. So I'm just going to assume he's really good at scouting these guys and that it's going to work. Zach Fremantle and Jerome Hunter is an elite power forward duo, and however they're going to split that time is going to be good. Got one of the best offensive power forwards in the Big East in Zach Fremantle, one of the best defensive in Jerome Hunter. Add another year in a scheme fit, and I think they'll be very good. I like the guards. Camcraft, Des Claude, two guys who were highly recruited who are coming back. You talked about the guys coming up in Olivari and McKnight. I really, really like both of them. And if all those guys pan out 1 through 4, this team is going to be fantastic. I think right now Abu Usman would be their starting center from North Texas. I interviewed him back a couple weeks ago, and that's back in your feed. If you guys want to go check that out, I highly recommend you go listen. But he's a very solid player who can help him out. I really like the way the pieces fit together for the Musketeers. I think this is a team that ends up being ranked, and I think I wouldn't be shocked if this team ends up finishing very similar to how it did last year, being about as productive and finishing high in the Big East, making a run in March. I like what they got going on, and I thought Sean Miller did a fantastic job in the portal.
Yeah, I like the pieces. I love the coaching. Sean Miller is in my A tier of coaches in the Big East. I'm a big fan of Sean Miller's, and I know he's almost like a meme at this point, but getting Jerome Hunter back is actually huge for this Xavier team. I mean, 6'8", 215. Not only is he big, the power forward, he fills out that spot, complements Zach Fremantle extremely nice. 7.8 points, 4.5 rebounds, and over an assist per game on 57% shooting last year. He's going to be the heartbeat of the Xavier team coming back. That experience is going to be huge. Him and Fremantle pose one of the better front courts in the conference next year, and I can't wait to see how Sean Miller utilizes him more in a starting role.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that, and that leaves us with our top two. It's UConn to Marquette, the Big East double champion last year and the national champion. Which team do you have at 1? Which team do you have at 2?
I have Marquette 1, UConn 2.
I have them in the same order. So let's start with UConn here. And I think you got to talk about the draft for the Huskies. Probably losing a lot of pieces. By the way, going back to Xavier real quick, while we're talking about the draft, Colby Jones projected as a first rounder right now. So shout out to him. Awesome stuff there. And we didn't talk about it when we talked about Nova, but Cam Whitmore, we knew he was going to be one and done, but he's the top 5, top 6 pick in this draft, which will be in June 22nd. But UConn, they're losing Jordan Hawkins. He's a surefire first rounder. Andre Jackson is a guy who's looked at as an early second rounder right now. And if that's where he goes, I don't think he's coming back. Adamo Sanogo is going to be gone for them. And that means you're really resetting here. Tristan Newton also still has a draft decision to make. I think he's back. And if Newton's back for UConn, I feel good. They got one of the best recruiting classes in the country coming in. I don't know if you agree with me here, but I have him below Marquette because I'm going to take talent we know over talent we don't. We know Marquette's players play at the college level. UConn's going to be relying on a lot of guys to produce who we don't know.
Yeah, Marquette won the Big East last year, and I don't think this UConn roster – well, it depends who comes back. I guess it would be close. That would be a story for another episode. But on paper, as we speak, this UConn roster isn't as good as the one that won the NCAA tournament last year. And Marquette still won the Big East regular season. So, yeah, I have Marquette winning the regular season absolutely with what you just said. With this UConn team, I was talking to a couple of colleagues earlier, and they brought up a really good point. Shout out DeRosa and Fadinga and their podcast and everything. But ball handling for UConn, especially if Tristan Newton does not come back, is going to be a little suspect. I am buying all of the stock. I want to put this out. It's May 24th, 23 right now. Stephon Castle, I'm buying all his stock. Big East Freshman of the Year. I've been saying this for a while. I'm in love with Stephon Castle's game. He's a combo guard, though. I don't know if he can adjust to that true point guard role, fill in Tristan Newton's shoes, who was really an underrated playmaker and scorer for that UConn team last year. Getting Alex Caravan back, Donovan Klingen's going to be first team All Big East as well. UConn's great. They would be first in a lot of these other conferences preseason power rankings, but I mean, with Marquette, it's just so hard to not pick them once you've already seen that they've done it and can do it.
Yeah. And UConn probably has the best 4-5 combo in the Big East next year, at least right now, with Caravan and Klingen and what that pairing can do. Tristan Newton back gives you a nice veteran presence. They still have Hassan Diarra with Naheem Aline. He left for St. John's, but they still have DR there who can give him a little veteran presence in the backcourt too. And a lot's going to come down to this incoming freshman class, which is fantastic. Stephon Castle, you talked about, number 12 in the ESPN Top 100. You got Solomon Ball, who's number 32, Jalen Stewart, who's number 91, Jaden Ross, who's number 80, and Yusuf Singare, who's a 4-star. So all really, really talented guys coming in. A couple of those guys hit and can become starter guys right away, which they probably should be. UConn's a national championship contender yet again, a top 10 team, and battling it out with Marquette for the top spot in the Big East. It's all going to come down to how those freshmen play. And then if Andre Jackson ends up coming back, that does help you with the ball handling question we talked about. If Andre Jackson's back, I think I'd have UConn at number 1. But if he's not, and I don't think he is at the moment, that's my prediction, then I'm going to have him at 2.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah. All right, now we'll go to number 1. The Marquette Golden Eagles, your Big East double champs last year, AP Coach of the Year in Shaka Smart. They're bringing back just about everything, except looks like Omax is about to become Pro Max. He has shot up the draft boards here at the Combine, looking like a potential first-round pick. I know Sam Viceni at The Athletic loves him. He had him at number 40, being picked 49th in his last mock, but I think has him as a first rounder or fringe first rounder in his overall board. That's still developing. But assuming he ends up going, that's one starter down for Marquette, but you're bringing back Big East Player of the Year in Tyler Kolek, Cam Jones as an X-Factor shooting, Oso Iguodaro, who's part of that 1-5 pick and roll. They all those games they play with Kolek and Iguodaro is fantastic. Stevie Mitchell, bringing the defense back. David Joplin, 6th man of the year. Sean Jones, the guy they like, taking a step. Ben Gold, Chase Ross, all guys who I think can add something in year 2. And the top 100 guy and a couple 4-stars, and Trey Norman, Amadou, Alisane Amadou, and Zaid Lowry coming in. They're restocking the cabinet there. Shaka Smart is, and I love what this team could be next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Shaka Smart's going to be excited to run it back with this team. I know that losing to a 10 seed, Michigan State was a 10 seed, right? Or were they 7?
I believe at 10.
Yeah, losing to a 10 or 7 seed, 10 seed in the second round of the NCAA tournament is not how they wanted to go out. I'm happy for Omax. He deserves to be shooting up those draft boards. I'm really excited to see what Stevie Mitchell can bring last year. I know he came to the Fin and absolutely lit the net on fire with his shooting. He's known for like a defensive stopper off the bench. I don't know if one of those 2 4-stars that they brought in, or is it 3? Is Trey Norman a 4-star? 2 or 3 4-stars that they brought in are going to get any playing time off Stevie Mitchell, who's comfortable coming off the bench and giving that spark. But I'm excited for him to see what he's going to bring to this team next year. And this is a really dangerous Marquette team, really well coached, and they look poised to run it back.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited to see what they're going to do. And, we thought year 2 leaps for Shaka Smart. That's where he thrives. They're going to be counting on that with 3 guys here again. So I think the Big East should have two top 10 teams all season long in Marquette and UConn, assuming things break the way we expect them to.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. I think that's going to do it for us in this episode. You got anything else you want to talk about, Tommy?
No, I'm going to go enjoy my Memorial Day weekend. Do you have any big plans?
I'm going to see Taylor Swift this weekend. My girlfriend got tickets for 2 nights. So I'm going with her Saturday night. I'm looking forward to it. It should be a very fun weekend.
2 nights? Did you have to take a loan out?
I think she got them both at face value.
Good for her.
Yeah, she was working it. She's she wanted those tickets. She was going to get them.
Enjoy. It's an incredible show.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm very, very excited for it. So that'll be my weekend. That's going to do it for us. Everybody go enjoy your Memorial Day weekends. Make sure to drink and consume substances responsibly this weekend. Don't drink and drive. Don't do dumb stuff. Enjoy your weekend.
I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe not that, but yeah. Just call an Uber if you need to get a ride. Have a safe weekend. We got a great college basketball season coming up next year. Let's all enjoy it together. I'm looking forward to it. We're gonna get some more schedule stuff here in the coming weeks. So yeah, and hey, enjoy some beverages, as Chris Danica throws in the chat. Hashtag team beverages. Enjoy them. Just do it responsibly. Love to. You got any beers or any cocktails you're drinking right now, Tommy?
Tequila. As we speak.
I love it. My dad got me a 3-pack of bourbon for my birthday from some tasting thing. So I've just been rotating between those, and they're all fantastic. So you either want bourbon recommendations or would like to give bourbon recommendations, I am all ears. DMs are very much open for that if you can slide it in between all the spam messages. So yeah, definitely make sure to do that. Yeah, I think we're gonna call it an episode there. That's Tommy Godin. I am Matt St. G, and have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we'll be talking to you shortly. Thanks for watching.